Welcome to the Nurtured Nerds Epic Podcast.
Come join us and get cuddly, get gaming, get nerdy,
and get nurtured. Woohoo!
Hello.
So hi. I'm Mary. I'm in Salt Lake, and I am a cuddle professional. I do this work in my part-time. Hopefully soon to do more after I retire. Very soon. Yay! And yeah, I do cuddle parties. I've been doing this for about 6 or 7 years, and this is episode 14 of the Nurture Nerd podcast. So excited. And today we have with us Crystal as our co-host. Crystal, will you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I'm Crystal. I'm from Pittsburgh. I have been cuddling since I want to say close to 2018. So it's been like over 3 years. I'm really grateful to be doing this work. I do one-on-one sessions and virtual sessions and group events. Although it's been a little slow with the group events, I'm hoping that that'll pick up again at some point. But yeah, I'm so grateful to be here today with you guys and to co-host. This is amazing. Definitely. Today we're talking about video games. We're going to have a panelist discussion about what they mean to us, how they impact us. We are really grateful to have a couple hardcore gamers and some professional cuddlers that also have some gaming experience. We're excited to also have a relationship coach. We will share stories. We're going to talk about some nerdy things, some cuddly things, and we're going to let you know what's going on in the community right now. We do have a raffle coming up, and we will definitely talk about that, about a care package and more details on that later. But we are definitely going to talk about some tea. We're running late for our tea party. One of my favorite times one of my favorite segments in this.
Yeah, we always like to know what tea everybody's drinking. Crystal, do you have tea today?
I do. So I have a matcha tea, and it's from Four Sigmatic. And of course, I have it in my otter mug.
That's an awesome, cute mug.
It's my favorite, and I love it. I'm a big fan of their mushroom coffees, and so I went for the matcha tea to round off the night today.
Yeah, matcha I find is kind of an acquired taste for me.
Definitely.
I have not acquired it.
It is acquired. I add some agave nectar and sometimes some milk to make it like a latte, so that's kind of fun.
Oh, nice. Today I'm drinking one of my favorites because it makes me feel good when I'm stressed, and I've had a stressful week. So this is Yogi Immune Support Tea. Nice. Echinacea, and it smells of mint, and it's got lemongrass and licorice and spearmint. Oh my gosh, it's got like 20 different things. So
those are all good.
Yeah, and it smells so good. It just makes me relax. So that's what I'm drinking today. And we will have our guests introduce themselves, but before you do that, do you want to tell us any of the tea that you're drinking, any of you? We have 3 guests today. That's exciting. Alyssa?
Well, I have some tea. This is just from Trader Joe's, and it's blood orange rooibos, and it's delicious, and I love it. And of course, I've got my Dalek mug.
Oh, yes. Oh, show us your Dalek mug. I want to see.
It says keep calm and exterminate, exterminate, exterminate.
That's
Love
awesome.
Love it. Do any of our other guests have tea today?
Yeah, I've got some tea. Oh,
Fei?
All right, sure. I have a ginger turmeric tea because I wanted some help with digestion today. And it's just got a little raw sugar in it, but it's in my favorite mug that says, all you need is love and a pug.
Oh,
and a pug.
This is a picture of
it's got a pug on the... Nice.
So awesome.
Cute.
Do you have a pug, Fei?
Yes, I do. His name is Gadget.
Mm-hmm. I did not know that. That's awesome.
What a cutie.
He's the second professional cuddler in this household.
I love it. I love the posts about him. He's adorable.
Oh, cool. Oh, I missed those somehow. And our last panelist, Jeff, do you have any tea today?
I have got, so I put all of my tea bags in a big bin and I mix them up and I pick one out at random. That's how I do tea because life is an adventure. That's today it was like a Bigelow one I got from the store. It was constant comment. I don't know what that means. I think it's got like a hint of orange in it. You can't see my cup because I'm using a virtual avatar today, but I've got one and that's what I've got. So
that's why your virtual hand is like up there.
Yeah. My hands might freak out a little bit. Just ignore that. They're the
invisible mug.
It's all good.
I got the mug.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Kind of see it. So anyway.
Nice. Cool. So we've kind of got your introduction a little bit already, but let's go back and ask you to introduce yourself a little more. Let's go back and start with Alyssa Powers again. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and like what kind of nerd are you?
Well, that's really a tricky question because I suppose I would fill a lot of niches in the nerd area. I play video games, I do theater, I really geek out about certain fantasy books to maybe I wouldn't say unhealthy extreme, but a very engrossing level. No, I'm just a big fan of like Wheel of Time and The Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson. So kind of a big range of nerdery. I've got my Firefly shirt on. I've got my, like I said, my Doctor Who mug. So it's very broad range of nerdery.
So good. I love all the different kinds of nerds. Thanks, Alyssa.
Yeah.
Fei, would you consider yourself a nerd, and in what area?
I am more of a geek, but I do nerd out a lot. I am a big gamer. I've been a gamer it's like a big part of my family culture. I love board games. After this, I'm going to go play our weekly Euro game group. And I play video games. I also am a huge fan of sci-fi, but I think most of all, I'm a kind of like a relationship and intimacy nerd.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
I feel
Love
you
it.
there. Me too. Thanks, Fei.
Mm-hmm.
And Fei, do you want to give your professional introduction?
Oh yeah. So I think the main reason I'm here is because I am a cuddle therapist. This is my 7th year being in the industry. And I'm also a relationship coach. So my whole thing right now, especially, is that I do cuddling and coaching to help people really just be their best selves in relationships, because that's what I'm all about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fei.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, Jeff, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and what kind of nerd you are?
Hello. So I'm much the let me start over. The biggest area I'm in of my nerddom is probably gaming. You can kind of tell I've got kind of a gaming theme going on here. Two of my favorite games I've got represented. I also am big into music, but like video game music especially, and other kinds of like soundtracky type stuff more than just like bands. And I actually, that's what my degree is in media music. And so I met Mary through some of the cuddle events that she hosts, and they're always really great. And I can't wait, the COVID to finally fix itself so we can start some of those up again. But
Me too.
yeah. I'm a big gamer. I'm a big fantasy stuff, like you said, Brandon Sanderson, top-notch guy. And so that's basically my backstory that's relevant to this podcast. So I've streamed sometimes. I'm thinking about maybe starting a VTuber stream, which is why I'm experimenting with some of these avatars, and we'll see if that happens. But if it does, I'll be sure to let you know. So
cool. Yeah, keep us posted.
Yeah,
totally. Definitely. I want to learn more about that. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Yeah, but we're going to get started. We're going to talk a little bit about video games today. Again, we've got some great gamers here. We want to talk about, what they offer us, how they've been positive, negative factors in our lives. I do want to say, what kind of role, I think like the first question I'm going to ask here is, what kind of role would you say that video games play in your world? So that could include, is it nurturing? Is it like a detrimental role, or would you say it's just a nerdy role? Who wants to start?
I can go ahead and start. This is Alyssa.
Yeah, thanks.
So right now, my husband and I, in the evenings, frequently will play Guild Wars 2, and we have a small guild of friends that we have met through playing the game from all over the world, and we call it our virtual pub. So we go there at night to socialize and get to be adults, at least for me, since I mostly spend time during the day as a stay-at-home mom with my kids. So it's nice for me to have adult interaction and then also just enjoy a beautiful game scenario, and we work towards goals together and just play and have fun. And we have specific nights where we'll do World versus World, or maybe we have a raid night. And it's a great socialization for someone like me who's home a lot, doesn't have the workplace environment.
That's wonderful.
I love that, because that's something I've actually learned from doing this group, Nurture Nerds, is that, for me, the gaming that I do has usually been just like for standalone games, because I didn't want to get totally pulled in, and I kind of didn't realize how much people use gaming as their social contact. So that was
Absolutely.
kind of eye-opening. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Agreed. And during the pandemic, I've noticed especially it's been amazing to realize how we can be so connected and so together, even separate.
Yeah,
So I'm very impressed to like learn about all of this.
definitely.
Yeah, one of the when the pandemic first started, the very first week of it, I was having kind of a hard time socially, like I think most of us were, and and s- but the one of the things I did that weekend is I started streaming a little bit. I can't remember what the game was. I think it was Stardew Valley, but it was something very simple, and just being able to reconnect with both some people online and just some actual real life friends who came and showed up and were chatting, like that was a big step towards kind of normalizing things, so that the pandemic wasn't so insurmountable even at that early stage when we didn't know how long it was going to go on. And that kind of social contact through gaming or even through streaming or that kind of thing where people can come together for a specific reason, I think has been really helpful for me and probably for a lot of us. So definitely
Yeah.
definitely very helpful.
I know that for me, during the pandemic, there wasn't as much of a transition because so many of my friendships were already long distance and gaming. And so it was just like I already had this social network to plug into. I did miss that in-person interaction. I actually was, at the time the pandemic started, was like heavily into this, what's the game called? It was a Niantic game for Harry Potter. So it was kind of like, it's like Pokemon Go, but for Harry Potter. And I missed getting to see those people in person, but being able to play online, the friends that I had made that I still, play games with, I met almost 10 years ago now at a time where I was like really depressed. And that's when I learned how to play League of Legends. And they've just sort of been there the whole time throughout like the 10 years of like life changes and career change and all of those things. And so for me, there's just been like this constant, it's like this familial quality of like constancy. People have grown up, they've gone through college, they've graduated high school, they've gotten married in the time that we've been friends. And it's like so meaningful to have so this like one commonality that we get to connect over.
That's so cool. We've kind of covered this already, but like, what is the appeal of video games for you? I mean, it sounds like for a lot of us, it is the social contact, but what else? I mean, why do it in a video game as opposed to a different way? I mean, what else in the video games draw you in?
Sorry, go ahead,
No,
Jeff.
I was just going to say it's a very broad question because it
It is.
depends on the game. I mean,
Yeah.
video games, I think, are like any other medium. Why do you read books? Because sometimes you want a fantasy story, and sometimes you want the weather report, like, or whatever. Or sometimes you need to learn a new skill, I think. Or like, why do you watch TV? Because sometimes you're in the mood for a great drama, sometimes you're in the mood for a reality show. It's all over the spectrum, I think. And so there's a million answers to that question.
There are a million answers, but I was just going to say, I think generally speaking, I know there'll be exceptions, there is an element of escapism in whatever genre you pick in a video game. I mean, definitely it's an opportunity. I mean, I guess even you might want to play more realistic games, but still, it's not usually your real life. Even if you're playing, a sim type game, you're still creating a different version of reality for yourself. And there's definitely that element, like I said, of escapism.
Yeah.
And I also think that for me, it's a great opportunity to have two things, teamwork and competitiveness. It's like there's just not as many places where you can do that are like low stakes. You've got sports and you've got games. And I just I like that it sort of unleashes this part of me that is like, just like rips into things without it having to mean a whole lot. It's just a game,
Very empowering, definitely. Agreed.
Yeah.
And occasionally frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah, I listened to, I think it was a Radio Lab podcast where they were talking about sports, and they said, we play sports so that we don't have to go to war. So we don't have to fight people. We can have the competitive in a framework, So yeah, games are kind of like that.
There's that aspect to gaming too, and but there's also with some games, especially the harder ones, there's an element of accomplishment to them as well, because you start with a difficult game, something like I don't know, like Dark Souls or something that's like infamously difficult, and you practice and you get better and you get better until you can finally get through it, and I think that's something to be proud of, just as you should be proud of like being able to create beautiful art, or to build a chair, or to do your own plumbing. Like it's an accomplishment, and it's something that you work towards. And I think that side of it's impressive. I mean, esports exists and streaming exists because people like to watch other people do something and do something well. And it's a sense of accomplishment for those people. And I think that's important too.
Love that. Mastery is one of the biggest elements of gaming. I love.
Yeah, I think I get a choose your own adventure vibe, that story series where you used to kind of be able to go throughout and get to the end, and you could kind of make a different ending. And I think that's kind of the beauty of, the blend of escapism and creativity and accomplishment that you can find within video games. Definitely. Thank you so much for answering all of that. You guys are amazing. Moving on, I do want to ask, if there's, what is like the one, or maybe you could be one or two games that maybe got you into video games, maybe the first game you ever played, or what somebody introduced you to. I'm definitely a fan of learning that.
Yeah, in bird watching, they call it the hook bird.
Nice.
The bird that you saw that got you interested in doing birding. So what's the hook game for you guys?
Well, I'm going to really date myself by telling people this, but the game that really got me into video games was the original Final Fantasy on Nintendo. So absolutely loved that. I played I've kind of fallen off the Final Fantasy wagon because it takes a lot of time commitment, but played almost all of them and love it, and feel very passionately about those games, love them, and I never looked back.
Nice.
I can do you one better on
really?
the feeling old part of this.
Here we go.
Because I grew up, my dad, when I was growing up, was kind of an early adopter, and so he had an old Atari computer. It was an Atari 800, and so this was like, pre-NES days, and so I basically was gaming since I was like 2 years old, basically. And so I can't like pinpoint an exact game. I was like, that was the one that got me into it, because it's been a part of my life since before I could remember. But like, even, the old Atari games, I guess my favorite one on that was Pitfall 2. So, but that's which came out in like 1981 or something. I don't remember the exact date, but somewhere around that time. So yeah, that's been part of my 1982. Thank you. So it's been a part of my life for literally all of my life. So
cool.
Yeah, Joust and Centipede, they were definitely two of my favorites.
The first video game that I got really hooked on was when I was about 6. It was Treasure Mountain. It was just a little platformer that you would like solve math questions or something like that. And my dad was an early adopter too, although I was not playing those early games, just like you, Jeff. And so, video games were just a thing that our whole family would do together. Like, you'd sit in front of the one computer that we have, and like everybody would watch one person play the game. And I remember like my mom would play things like Myst, or,
Myst, yes.
or like whatever game, and like she would not make us lunch because she was like so absorbed in the game. And she, when we talked to her about that later in life, she was so embarrassed because that was proof that she was a terrible mom, not feeding her kids. But we were like, no, we got to make sandwiches for ourselves. Like, that was like one of our favorite memories. So that's what really got me started.
That's so cool.
I remember playing Myst with my dad. Sorry. I was just going to say, I remember playing Myst with my dad. Like, he would play the game, and I would sit over in the corner, like making the notes, because in old games you had to like write stuff down and actually keep track of notes and stuff. And so I would be his like scribes to help him figure out all the puzzles. It was really fun.
There weren't walkthroughs that you could just like look up on the internet when you were stuck.
Yeah, those didn't exist back then. So
you could get the guide sometimes, like the big old. You had to buy it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Gosh. My dad
was
used
so
to
pretty back in the day, right? When Mist came out, I was like, "Whoa, it's so beautiful,
amazing!" Yeah.
My dad used to write his own text-based adventure games in BASIC, so I would help write those. That's the
awesome.
first I remember, honestly.
That's really
that was
cool.
so fun. Yeah. Crystal, what about you?
For me, it was definitely Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I was such a dork for that game. It was a Super Nintendo game. I did play some Atari, but that didn't hook me. It was the RPGs that really hooked me, and got me really pumped about video gaming in general.
Cool. Ah, that was so fun to hear everybody's stories. Love it. So let's go on. How does the social interaction in the video games compare to you to like real life face-to-face interaction? And like not just with your close friends, but also with like the NPCs, the people you don't know very well. How does that compare?
Okay, I just have to laugh at you compared people we don't know very well to NPCs. Now every time I see somebody, I'm going to be like, oh, well, do they have an item for me? Maybe I better go talk to them. No,
maybe you should, because they probably
I'm going to start talking to strangers a lot more now because I'm going to think that they're. Anyway, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that before. Like we're every individual is like the center of their own universe, and then there's people that you interact with that are NPCs in my life just because of their role they're playing at that moment. If it's the mailman putting my mail in the box, I'm not gonna usually go talk to him for half an hour. He's working and he has a role. So but anyway, yeah, it's interesting. But then to also remember that they are not NPCs in their life. And they could be more than that in our life, right? If you go talk to them and see what they have for you.
Well, like any good RPG, as soon as you know their name, then you know they're important.
Then you know they're important. Right. Yes.
And you can always find out the backstory, if you choose to strike up a conversation.
I think that some of my favorite social interactions have occurred as a result of internet interactions. Like our guild, for example, I have met several guildmates in person now, and it's kind of awkward for about 10 seconds, and then it's just totally fine and great because we've been friends now for almost 8 years. So I don't know how.
Do you realize that you do know this person even though you haven't interacted like with your bodies much, but you know them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Like I said, it took that 10 seconds of like, I've never seen their face in real life. Oh, just kidding. I totally know you. I've heard your voice in my ear for forever and ever, but
yeah.
That's
cool. I know that I'm sometimes even more of myself with some of these friends. I'm like a cruder, more just like let loose version of me, just because I don't know, like we're only relating in this context, right? So there's some way that I feel more free. And I do realize like there's a disembodiment to it also. Like I'm such a touchy feely person that sometimes when I'm in those interactions, I forget the like mammal version of myself. So it's strange to be in both worlds, sort of like this like heady play banter talk shit world, and then like in real life I'm like cuddly, and I don't know, it's just like so different.
No, Faye, that totally makes sense with what you were saying about how the competition is low stakes. The social interactions are low stakes too, because you're not going to get into some major fight, or it's not going to impact you deeply if you run into somebody who's a massive troll, so
the buffer is sort of pleasant.
Yeah,
you got anonymity can be the lure.
Turn off the game, or you can transport somewhere else if you want.
You can rage quit. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Crystal?
I was going to say, so this is, along similar lines, but would you say, does anyone have how video games have impacted your social life personally. So we kind of looked at it more of a broad standpoint and how, they can interact face-to-face interaction or relate to face-to-face interaction. But what about again, personal relationships? Have they made certain relationships possible? Or have they, kind of enhanced your communication with people?
I think once again, this depends on kind of the type of gaming you're doing. Because if
Mhm.
you're online and you're playing with like friends or guilds or whatever, then obviously there's a social aspect.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of, single player solo experiences that are less interacting with real people, but sometimes it depends on what kind of person you are. Like if you're an introvert, that kind of time is, kind of your recharge time. Playing it solo or even playing a multiplayer game, but not doing like raids and stuff, just going off and doing your own thing. And so I think games can be adaptable to what you kind of need in that moment, especially if you're playing online. And even if you're not, just the time that you take to relax and play a new game or play an old game that you've played 1,000 times before, and you just need something familiar to recharge and that kind of thing. And so I guess it depends. It's just whatever niche you need filled.
And I think that's a great point, by the way,
Mhm.
is that it can be kind of adaptable to who you are and what you need in that moment. I definitely agree.
I'm just remembering like early in the pandemic when everybody was playing Animal Crossing so that they could have like everyday life interaction with their friends. I just think that's so sweet.
Yeah, I like what you said earlier, Jeff, about how it's like why do you play games? Well, why do you read books? Well, there's books about everything. There's games about everything that could fit any niche.
Agreed.
I sometimes think of that also, like when people are like, I don't like opera. I'm like, well, that's like saying you don't like hearing things, because there's so many different kinds of music, that, yeah, it's very interesting. Sorry, I don't really have a point there. I'm just rambling.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, is there a flip side or any negative effects that you guys have seen in interpersonal relationships? Anything like limiting, let's say?
I think there can be. But like you said, it's like any other hobby. If you get obsessed with anything and it takes over
Agreed.
your life, then yes, it can be very detrimental. If all of your social interactions are with NPCs or whatever, that can become an issue if you don't put that into moderation. So that side of things certainly exists. I think it's usually for most people, most adults, I would say, like if you've got enough emotional maturity, that's not going to be too much of an issue. But it is something that if you have those kind of tendencies, you do want to watch and make sure that if you get really into something and you're neglecting other parts of your life, you need to recognize that. But,
how old
I
do we
love
need
it.
to be to have emotional maturity? Just asking.
way older than I am.
Definitely older than me as well.
Some days are better than others.
I think it's one of those things that they lie to us and tell us it really exists when you're grown up. But it's really not there. They're just trying to make us do it.
Yeah. No, I know what you were saying though. That's absolutely true. I just thought it was kind of funny because I know, especially like Fei was saying, when I'm playing games sometimes, I mean, for example, our guild name is Wang. I might have brought that up before. So not the most mature of conversations sometimes. Sorry.
I guess it feels like, just like anything can become an escape and escapes
Can be healthy
moderation
or
is
not,
great,
right?
right? Yeah. And then I think the thing about games is they are designed. It's like they're designed to hook us. They're designed to give us that like dopamine hit and to sort of keep us engaged. And so it's like really tricky to have our like programming sort of work against that in some ways. It's like prone to addiction, I suppose.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And it's hard because like I know so many people who want to quit gaming, right? And like are shaming themselves for how they don't have enough willpower and all that to quit. And I'm just like, yeah, like it's like there's so much that we get out of it. Like, can we like have a little compassion for ourselves that it's like a sweet spot that we get to, you know, run away to every once in a while. And yeah, it takes
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, acknowledge all the good things about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and there are some specific games, especially like for those of you who can see the video, like the one I got behind me, which is a screenshot from Celeste, which is one of my favorite games of the past 5 years. If you don't know it, it's a platformer, but it's also it's like the journey of this person as she's climbing this mountain, and it's kind of like a representative of her dealing with her own mental health issues. And it's an absolutely it's gloriously beautiful. It's got a great soundtrack. The gameplay is hard, but you can also like turn on assist modes if you know, if you need to, and the game doesn't shame you for it. It's like, hey, sometimes you'll need a little help, keep on going. Like, it's a very positive game, which is really cool. And
it sounds amazing.
Yeah, and there are a bunch of games, and Celeste is a good example, but there are some others I could bring up if you want, where the game itself, I think, deals with issues that are especially common among gamers, things like social isolation and some mental health issues that help you work through them almost as a therapy. And that kind of avenue is so important to people who maybe can't or don't work well with like other more traditional forms of therapy. They can kind of work through their issues in a game way like that. And I think that's something that should not be discounted, but definitely mentioned.
That's a tool. Sorry, Crystal.
Oh no, I was just going to say I would love to hear more of those games and recognize again that anything can be a therapy, and that video games really do hold a really special place in a lot of our hearts. And you know, and it is balanced, but it sounds like a really cool game, and it is a beautiful background, by the way.
Thank you. I didn't draw it, I just picked it, but thank you anyway.
We kind of talked a little bit about it, but like when we're in a game, we kind of like, I think Fei said that you feel like you're a little more, you can be more unfiltered maybe. But then that can bring out some of the bad behavior in people. So we have the trolls and the bullying and some toxicity in games. How do you cope with that? What are some realistic ideas maybe to keep ourselves from going there, or when it comes out in other people? What do you guys do?
Well, occasionally, the way in Guild Wars it works, occasionally an opposing team can kind of get this workaround way to whisper an opposing team. So you'll get somebody who will whisper you and say something that's usually pretty negative or whatever. A lot of our guild have decided that the way we handle that is just to respond with lyrics to songs, because they don't know how to handle that. It's pretty hilarious when somebody's like, you suck, you noob, and you're like, I don't know, my girl talking about my girl. Yeah, you can dance if you want. Yeah, so that's one way. I also turn off a lot of the chat filters sometimes too, just because it's not, I don't need to see all that.
That's awesome. I love that.
We also drop food for people. Like if there's jumping on our dead bodies, we'll like leave baskets of food for them, usually really bad food that's gonna, negatively impact their performance, but
yeah, I guess for me, being on the outside, because I don't really play those kind of games a lot, I don't know what the trolling experience is like. So is that your experience, I guess? It sounds like it is, Alyssa, somewhat.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there are always going to be people who are maybe not as emotionally mature or having a bad day, and they want to take it out on you. And I think I've gotten better over the years at just letting it, roll off. But occasionally I might be a little salty back. That's the favored term right now, is to be a little salty. Yeah.
I recall one time playing Call of Duty and having the headset on, and that's not something I play all the time. It's not one of my favorite games, but I think there was maybe like a 6 or 12-year-old that started like swearing at me, and I remember being like, "Oh, Mom, I don't know what's happening." So it was tough to figure out how to navigate. But I think I made some jokes and tried to be silly, and then just like got off. It was like I'm good. But yeah, I think for me, at least in the past, I've chosen to just not engage with
Not
anybody
engage.
that's doing something negative or saying something negative.
Well, I think if you're especially sensitive to that kind of toxicity in gaming culture, sorry, my hands are going weird. There we go. If you're sensitive to that kind of thing, there are other games like PvE games or PvE modes in games that are usually a lot more supportive, because then instead of fighting each other, you're banding together to fight a boss monster or whatever. And in those situations, people are a lot less likely to be competitive and to show that toxicity, and you're trying to help each other out. So unless you've got a troll in there, which sometimes happens.
Generally speaking, although there is a lot of gatekeeping, and occasionally, you'll try to join to something, they'll be like, oh, you do not have the skills for this. And, have to watch out for that.
There is gatekeeping, yes, that is true. But I don't know. I play actually a lot of Fallout 76, which got a bad rep for a really long time, but it's actually a decent game nowadays. And that game is focused very heavily on PvE stuff. And
what is PvE?
Player versus enemy,
everything or environment.
Yeah. So as opposed to PvP, which is player versus player.
I knew that one.
And so, but yeah, so and most MMOs have kind of zones where it's either PvP or PvE, depending on who you're with, what you're doing, that kind of thing. But
or WVW, world versus world.
Yeah, when you've got factions fighting each other. So it's anyway. But yeah, if you find yourself too much in those, there are places you can still game online that are a little safer spaces if you need to. And I appreciate that those options are out there, because it does help when it gets a little too real sometimes.
Yeah, turning off all chat and hitting the report button.
Also
That's all we got.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah,
I like it. Let me ask. I once read this amazing article in Psychology Today that talked a lot about treating life as a video game. It talked about a lady that had, I believe, a head injury, and she kind of approached life, looking at ways to level herself up. Let me ask, have you guys ever approached life as if it were a video game, or approached a situation that could include leveling up, that could include exercise, really anything?
Gamification.
Yeah.
I
love it.
I remembered the name of a game, but I did use a little mobile app game that I played with my friends that had like little to-do list items that would like level up my character every time I like did them every day or something like that. That was great. And I noticed that like it wasn't sustainable for me to like rely on dopamine so much to get things done. I'm much more, I have a much higher sustainability when I am doing things more organically. But it really got me like drink water every day, like that, like there were some habits like definitely developed from it. It's like I don't remember the name.
Was it Habitica? Because I've done that one.
Yeah,
that's one. Yeah, I did that a few years ago, and I kind of came to a similar conclusion, which is it helped me with some things, but for me personally, it works a little better if I'm a little more organic about it in my life. Like gamifying doesn't necessarily help me do stuff and like take care of my to-do list, but for some other people, it works better for them. So there are tools.
Maybe like a short-term goal is easier gamified. Alyssa?
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I would like to think that having some of like when we face those toxic people occasionally, I think that maybe having exposure to that over many years helps a little bit in real life in terms of like, oh, well, they're just having a bad day. If someone's being rude, you can just kind of try and let it go a little easier.
You get experience in the sheltered world, and then you can do it better in the real world. Yeah,
I definitely agree. I think like the short term sounds better. To speak on what you mentioned, Mary, I think the short term makes sense to gamify more, but it's funny, I haven't heard that term before today, and I really think of it in a larger perspective, where I think of gaining experience points and just overall trying to look at life as leveling up. I think that gamifying probably wouldn't work so well in some aspects, but
I think it works really great for those of us who like need a little boost of external motivation, external external reward. I think is a useful tool to support the things that we internally desire, right? So I think it's a great tool. I know lots of people, business owners and stuff, who gamify their work. You know, it's like they're what they're doing with their businesses is what we do in video games. Is we're like trying to get the next level of gear or whatnot. They've got like the achievements that they're trying to achieve in their business. So it's the same thing, just in different form.
What comes to mind for me is just the Fitbit and how people are using the Fitbit with an app, or the Fitbit with, hey, I did this today. I walked this many steps. Like that definitely brings it home.
Or using your game time as the reward. So, well, I can go play my game as long as I finish XYZ first.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's interesting because I have heard of gamification, but I hadn't thought of it in the context of like what we've talked about in Nurture Nerds of like leveling up your life and looking at it like you have to fight a boss battle now, or you know. And so that is to bring that all together. It is gamifying. That actually has been helping me recently, because I was like, I have to do this report for work, and if I finish the Excel quest, they'll actually pay me in real money. You know? Yeah. Boss battle with your boss, Gita.
I happen to think of life as a big video game. It's like I think of life as just sort of this open world game. Like, what do you want to do? You got to make your own achievements. So
build your own character.
Make friends with everybody. You know, like I do in Stardew Valley. Like woo everybody and get all of them to 10 hearts. Like that's the game I play in my real life. You know.
Absolutely. Yep. I love it. Do you guys think the games are a form of self-care?
I think they can be. Yeah, definitely.
You use it as self-care?
Well, like we've said, it fills a niche. And like I said before, it's a form of escapism. It's a time to relax, to focus on something completely different than what your normal daily focus might be. So I definitely think you could qualify that as a form of self-care.
I know there's the limit for myself personally, that like there is like some time cap for where it ceases to be self-care and actually like starts to drain my body or something like that. And it's hard to actually notice when that happens, but there's a point where it's like I'm getting all the fun and all the interaction and the like chemicals that I like having, and then eventually I actually need to pull away because electronic stimulation takes away from my ability to actually feel my body and like do all the other self-care things that I like to do.
Totally agree with that. Yeah,
when it crosses from fun to just kind of a Skinner box thing where you're just doing it because the game is telling you to, not because you're having fun with it. That's the line. But up until that point, it's good. You just gotta be cognizant that line does exist and to recognize it if you get there.
That's a great point, Jeff. That's self-awareness.
Which is why it's such an issue for kids. I mean, really, it is, because they don't see that line is crossed.
Right.
As a grown-up, like yesterday, I was stuck on my cell phone just playing one of those cell phone games where you just make dots disappear, you know? And I'm not happy being there. it's a really impossible vortex to get out of in moments. So I'm just learning to have a lot more compassion with myself and sort of set more pre-agreements. But yeah, if I can't do that as a 37-year-old, like kids don't have the ability.
Yeah. I was going to say, my two beautiful children love to play video games with me and on their own. I think my son a little bit more than my daughter, and we do have to attempt to limit. You know, even myself, I put limits on my phone, and I think that in general, it's a tough one. Yeah, even at my age, for me to police myself, but especially for anyone underage. And I think that the tough part is as we navigate ways to quote unquote limit time. The universe, or all the people creating these games and all the marketers of these games are creating ways to kind of circumvent those limits, and so it's kind of a constant check-in with yourself and with your family, you know.
Yeah, it does take some effort. Yeah, because a lot of games are specifically designed to hook you and to keep you on the hook for as long as possible. And
Yeah.
you've got to be responsible enough to recognize that and to not get sucked into it so far that you can't get out.
Wasn't that this the social, what was that the social dilemma that like
Yes.
talked about how, you know, technology is evolving so rapidly to get us to keep staying on the platform, and our brains are much slower to evolve, so it's a lot more work to resist.
Yeah, I'd really recommend watching that. I really enjoyed everything I got out of that. It was a little scary at times, but then they would try to insert hope. So definitely.
Yeah, we have to keep the bigger raid in mind of our real life, right? And
Agreed.
as opposed to working on just this one bit of the
One side
puzzle or
quest.
whatever. Yeah, exactly.
And the next question actually comes from our raffle winner, Oberon. Has anybody, and I love this question, have you ever had an emotional reaction to a game story or something that happens in a game? I got some good ones.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yes.
I have. I
So
could talk
many.
for. I could talk for the rest of the podcast about this if you want, but I won't.
Oh,
I'd love
Jeff,
to
go
hear it.
ahead.
Anything you want to share?
Well, here's my philosophy about this. Is that games that are well written games that have got like good storylines and good characters to them, I think can be just as affecting as, you know, any good book or any good movie or anything else that you engage with. Like I said, like Celeste back there is one example of a very good one. One that I've really liked recently also is this game called Undertale that my niece has introduced me to. If you've heard of that one, it's an adorable game that takes about like 12 hours to finish, and the characters are just so fun and cute, and the game itself, it's like the graphics are extremely simple. It's got really good music though, but just playing through it is a joy. And the guy, it was like one guy who made most of it, and it's kind of an anti Skinner box game, because at the end, if you get the best ending, a little character pops up and is like, hey, everybody got a happy ending, you should leave them there and go play something else. It's basically what the game says to you. And it's created with such heart, and I really connected to that. So that would be probably at the top of my list for emotionally affecting games, for me at least.
What was the name of that again?
Undertale is what it's called.
Undertale.
Yeah, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but because some people played it and they're like, yeah, it was fine. But for me, I really liked it.
I love this like point that's being brought up, that storytelling, right? Video games are often, and they're a new medium that's being explored. I don't think it's fully explored yet, a medium for storytelling. And there's nothing like a good story that ties me back to my humanity and the humanity of others. And there's something for me just so powerful about that.
Absolutely. And that's what I was just going to say. I mean, as I've mentioned before, I grew up playing Final Fantasy games, which were really all about the story. And I mean, I don't know, maybe 9 years old, and spoilers, but the game's been out for 100 years. So there was this point where it was Final Fantasy 2, but which really was 4, long story because of the way they were released here. But these two characters turn themselves into stone. I'm going to get emotional talking about this. They turn themselves into stone to stop you from getting crushed by these incoming walls. And I was just weeping, and it's just such an emotional moment for me. So anyway, yes, absolutely. The stories are brilliant. And like Fei said, they have wonderful examples in them. Like, I want to be like those people.
And in no other medium do you get to interact with story in the same way.
Exactly.
Like you can choose your own adventure, maybe in books, but it's like A, B, right? But like in video games, you're actually impacting the story, like feels like you're co-creating it as it's happening.
Yeah.
So the impact is so much higher. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interactive media brings so much more personality to it. Another game I really like is the one that is on the hoodie that I've got here, which is Chrono Trigger, which is made by the same company who made Final Fantasy. It is literally my favorite game of all time.
Yes.
And it's
classic.
classic game, and it's got such good character. I don't want to spoil it because there's so much plot to it, but it's like this game about time travel and you're trying to save the world and whatever. But the characters are just so fun, and the storyline is just so well crafted. And I like I said, I don't want to spoil any of it by talking about any of it because you just have to go play it. But it's an example of a game that I really liked. And so that also one more that's kind of captured the cultural zeitgeist at the moment because it just came out with the Legendary Edition is the Mass Effect series. Which
classic Commander Shepard.
Yep, Commander Shepard. It's my favorite game on the Citadel. But it's the second game especially is all about the squad that you're trying to build to like take on these evil aliens who are kidnapping humans. And the entire game is about you getting to know all of these characters and talking to them and doing missions for them and helping them solve their issues so that they can go on with you to this mission. And then the very final mission in the game, they could maybe die. Like it's this, if you make the wrong choices or if you don't know them well enough to know who's suited for what, or if you didn't like help them out with their personal issues, they could literally die. And then in the third game, they're not there, whereas they would be otherwise. So it's not just these cool characters, but you make decisions that impact the game world in ways that you can't really explore in any other medium because it's you making those decisions. And it's absolutely fascinating to study and incredibly, emotional and heartfelt to experience.
I can feel your passion on that, Jeff. And again, it's really wonderful to hear that in your voice and to see everybody very, excited. You can tell that video games have left such a large impact on everybody.
Definitely.
Yeah,
and I'd like to actually bring back our other theme now, which is cuddling and gaming. We've kind of talked about how they're in other podcasts, we talk about how they're both forms of self-care. What if we looked at cuddling as like maybe it's a different kind of adventure, like a different game you can play if you're gonna go do a cuddle session, I don't know, like I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question appropriately. Like when you game anonymously with an avatar, you can have a private cuddle session with someone who is there just to witness you and have that same kind of safety of being unfiltered.
I've had cuddle sessions where we played video games together.
Have you?
Great. Yeah. We sat next to each other on the couch and played a co-op game together. I don't even remember, probably like something like Overcooked or something on the PlayStation. And I don't know, like it's just additional human interaction. I think for me, I'm a social gamer. I'm all about games being a way to be with other people and to get just a little bit of touch. Well, that happens, that was like extra bonus.
Yeah.
That's sort of the element that would be missing from a video game, right? I mean, it's not a physical thing in terms of your interaction with other people. So yeah, that's the one element that's kind of missing. So from these interactions that you have is that physical. I'm not sure, but yeah, so there are a lot of people who might need that extra element that are missing that in their video game interactions. I play with my husband, so that's great because I can just reach over and be like, "Oh, hey," but other people, don't.
Is he sitting there? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, he's sitting here playing a video game.
I love it.
Usually my husband would be right next to me too.
Well, he insisted he'd be quiet. I'm not sure if that's worked out or not.
You guys are so sweet. No, that's the first time I heard him. Yeah. How do you guys miss that in the games that you play? Do you miss? I mean, Alyssa says she's gaming with her husband, but so that's good. But the rest of you, do you? Fei, you game with your partner as well?
I think about that, like with my guild mates and stuff, some of them who don't. Like we have a couple who, we have another couple we play with, but we have guild members who don't play with their spouses, and so, or they play on their own and they're on their own, and so those are the people who, I think about sometimes, like, oh, I'm fortunate that I have this element, but that they don't. So, that's where your expertise comes in.
That being said, like, you know, folks in the gaming world, especially those who are in guilds together or have social interaction in games, have so many more resources at their disposal for support and interaction than some of the Cuddle clients that I see don't even have a gaming group that they belong to. And so for me, I'm just like, we get what we need. We get what we need from the interactions that we have. And sure. And well, let's just be clear, not everybody wants touch.
True.
Some people feel so much safer without it.
Yeah. Jeff, did you have anything?
I don't have a lot to add because it is my area of expertise, I suppose. But yeah, if you've got a partner who I think is at least has some measure of passion to gaming as you do, you know, not necessarily even the same level, but at least you both are into it enough to have an enjoyable time, then that it can be a nice interaction. I've had very few of those types of interactions, but that's why I didn't really say anything. But it is nice work if you can get it.
It's complicated, you know, navigating the availability of like that kind of companionship and intimacy.
Yeah.
So
it is complicated. And you know, Crystal, did you have any comment on that?
I know that you know, from my experience, the camaraderie of playing with others in the physical realm where they're sitting next to me playing, we're doing like a tournament, has always been something that I longed for more than the virtual. I think that only within the last couple of years and throughout the pandemic have I really noticed the benefit of that virtual connection. And I think that for a lot of video gamers, there can be that desire for that isolation that, like Fei mentioned, that's what they prefer, that's what they long for. But I think there's a lot of great adaptability in the idea of adding touch, an element of touch, you know, a platonic element of touch with video gaming, you know, with whether it's with a Cuddle client, whether it's with friends, whether it's with a partner that you're romantically interested in. There's so much opportunity. You know, I think one of the best first dates could be video gaming or going to an arcade. You know, that's something where you're bumping shoulders or you're bumping arms, and even that small amount of touch is, you know, a pat on the back with your children while they're playing. That's all, to me, that's all cuddling. It's all like a realm of like a fun gamut of touch and exposure. And so I really love the idea of blending them more. And I really love the idea of, you know, working within each person's interest level and each person's strengths, you know, for how much touch is involved with video gaming.
and there's like a crossover. Like my gaming group, they pre-COVID would meet up once a year to go to convention together and, you know, share hotel rooms and go out drinking and, you know, huddle in the same bed and give each other high fives and hugs. And so like those are just additional opportunities. Like like Gita is saying over here, the expansion pack you have the option for.
Yes. Expansion to cuddling. You know, I tend to use gaming when I don't want to people anymore. So I will use it for my escape and I do the solo games when I'm not wanting to interact with people. But yeah, that's different. That sounds like that's different from how you guys do it. And that's always an option for everybody to use different ways, like we've said. And I'm gonna skip a question here, and we can come back to it. Hopefully, Crystal next. But I wanted to ask, what if you could add like a cuddle option to a video game that you could perform? Like maybe it's a healing move, like you go hug the enemy. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think those exist already.
Do they exist?
Kind of, yeah.
Well,
That's cool.
You know, there are moves in RPGs where it's like a healing move is labeled kiss. That happens in Chrono Trigger, for example.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's out there already.
So those kind of things are out there. So
I have to say I don't have a ton of exposure in the games, so that's my what's the word? When guys help me, I have no word. Disclaimer.
There you go.
Anyway.
No, I love that. I almost always play healer. I mean, pretty much exclusively. So that's I think that is very much in line with what you guys do.
would you add any cuddle moves, or maybe like go to a virtual cuddle party in the Klingon dungeon or something? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we have, you know, depending on I guess it would depend on the game that you're playing. But you could absolutely add some sort of like recharge your health battery or your, I don't know what.
Yeah, I think that would be an amazing option, as well as it would promote the idea of, you know, cuddle events and safe platonic touch, and it would be a kind of a fun option to just talk about it with people, chat about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, I think it was and you can correct me if I'm wrong, those who know Final Fantasy better than I do, but there was a final, I think it was X2, I can't remember, where there's like a mini game where one of the people that you're trying to convince, you end up like giving them a back massage. Like, I
think you're right.
And you have, there's like a mini game where you have to like give her back massage the right way, and then she's like more amenable to helping you out or something.
Is that right? I remember.
Just like real life.
Just like real life.
I love it.
I love it.
Yes.
So.
Good. That's so awesome.
Yep, that's it. You're right. X2. I did check. I was like, was that what it was? Yeah. 10-2.
That's the one it was.
And you stayed an inn, so I mean, to recharge there, so you could just go to the retreat or something.
Yeah, there's so many stories out there told in so many games. I guarantee you stuff like that is out there.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that it is out there. I would hope so. I mean, it's not like cuddling is invented by us, you know.
And I think we talked a little bit about this, balancing video games and, you know, using them as self-care, but also not kind of overdoing it or becoming addicted. You know, what are some tactics or some methods that you guys use to kind of stay aware or maybe monitor yourself? What are some things that you kind of work on with that?
My number one thing has been to just get in the habit of checking with my body. And I'm learning not to use shame, because shame is one of my go-to tactics for like, you've been playing too long, like time to stop. But more like checking how I'm feeling and then asking myself, how do I want to feel? Like that's it. That's like the only two things that I do now. So how are you feeling? Like, okay, I'm feeling like my eyes are tired, my back is tired. And how do I want to feel instead? Well, I don't want to feel like this, but maybe I want to feel like enlivened, or like I want to feel what it'd be like to like have some more focus in the shower or something like that. So that helps me with the transition point a lot, because when I shame myself, it doesn't work.
Those are great questions to ask yourself. Thank you.
Yes, I love that, Faye. Thank you. I had to write that down.
For me, I think fortunately the types of games I play aren't as, you know, like dopamine fix sort of games. So it's like more story, or social. So I don't think I run into that as much, unless there's the really hard raid boss that we can't be. And then I'm like, do it again. And that's not necessarily the healthiest either. So yeah, you just have to sometimes be a big girl and say, no, I have to go to bed. I don't have any good, no good techniques for me. Just grow up, I guess.
That's a good technique. I like it. That's good.
That is a technique.
When I like what Faye said about the check in with yourself and just be like,
that's great.
And you have to, you know, actively be like, am I still having fun? Do I need to get up and move around? How long has it been? Maybe, you know, make sure that I'm going to game till 3:00 today. And then no matter what, with single player games, a little easier because wherever you are, you can just drop a save and get out of there with, and so you definitely need to, you know, multiplayer games a little more difficult because especially if you're, you know, doing a raid or something. But yeah, there you've just got you've got to take responsibility for that yourself and not do it in a way like, oh no, I gamed too much today, but just in a way that you recognize that you need to take care of yourself. So
yeah.
Agreed. Shame is never a good tool. And I think that self-awareness and being organic in it is also positive. I know for me, even just noticing, like Alyssa mentioned, you know, hey, I want to get to this point, or I want to finish this section of it or this story. And then being able to say, okay, I'll put it away for a week or put it away for a couple of days before I readdress. what I want to attack next or what I want to accomplish in the game next.
And
yeah.
Sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, and it's sometimes, setting a timer is, set it for 30 minutes, and it's not necessarily I'll be done in 30 minutes, but I'm going to check in with myself in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And if I'm still having a good time, then I'll hit the snooze button or whatever. But just make sure that you're on top of whatever works for you.
It's a good strategy.
For me, I definitely, I believe that willpower comes from structures. And so for me, it's a lot about like creating this meta structure that actually holds what I want in general. And so like when I game, I have this cutoff time of like 9:30. That's when I have another thing in my schedule, which is connective. Like I'm accountable to my husband and I go on a walk at that time. So I'm not like left to my own devices about like deciding when I stop, because there is something else in my schedule that I actually hold to. And I wouldn't be able to do that if it were just me. I actually need external support to be able to quit sometimes. So I find that like just choosing to put that into my structure of my life makes it so that I just don't have to depend on my like moment to moment decision making.
That's good. It's the making the decision ahead of time. Then you don't make a decision in the moment. It's already made. You just follow your plan.
Yeah.
And recognize your own limitations. For example, like, I know I need a certain amount of sleep to feel okay. And I know that if I'm a certain amount of activity or physical movement, so if I'm not getting those, then I don't want to feel like that, as Faye said before. So yeah, know your own limitations.
That's cool.
That brings up for me, when I'm cuddling a client and, I'm filled with oxytocin, it's very important for me to have a timer, sometimes 2 timers set up so that if I hit snooze or if it's like, hey, we're doing a 5-minute warning, I've at least had one session where I forgot the timer and you definitely, you never forget it again.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing. It's a good thing to kind of hold those boundaries for yourself.
Cool. So we're about to get to our sum up questions, but I wanted to just ask you guys first, what are you playing now? Like what's holding your attention now? What's your best game that you think everybody should play? Let's start with Alyssa.
Well,
I know, but go ahead and tell everyone else.
Guild Wars 2, it's been around forever, but it's still gorgeous and there's still new material coming out. And we've talked about this behind the scenes, but they still do a lot of balance patches. So occasionally your characters will get nerfed, Crystal, and I'll explain that later. But it's just a gorgeous game. And it's still a great community out there. So I highly recommend it.
Cool. Thanks. Faye, what are you playing right now?
Right now, I'm playing It Takes Two with a friend online. So it's a platformer that's like kind of puzzle cooperative. I took a little break from those like MOBAs that you need to team up and stuff from. So I'm really having a lot of fun with just like games enhancing the relationships that I already have.
That's fun. Cool. Jeff, what's holding your attention?
Oh, so many things. Like I've said before, I'm a little more into the single player kind of type of thing. I'm a type of person who's been playing like Skyrim for 10 years, but keeps adding mods on top of it, like that kind of thing, which makes it like a completely different game every time. But yeah, I'm probably playing Stardew Valley later today with a friend of mine who's very sad about what's happening in World of Warcraft right now. So he needs some time to kind of decompress from all of that, and so we're just going to play Stardew Valley and talk about it, and that's fun. Other than that, the games I've mentioned before, like Celeste, I'm not necessarily playing now, but I would recommend that everybody play it if you haven't. Undertale I already mentioned. Another one that I've been going through and trying to get better at is Hollow Knight, an absolutely gorgeous game. If you like games where there's lots of exploration and that kind of thing, it's perfect. It hits all of my buttons because it's like a 2D platformer, but the art style is amazing. The music is amazing. It's probably my top game of the past like 5 years. And so
my son loves it.
Yeah, it's great. If you haven't played it, go out and look it up right now. But yeah, so
cool. Thanks, Jeff. Crystal, what are you playing?
So I've been taking a tiny hiatus from video games. I think the game that I was playing most recently, which I've been just obsessed with forever, is the Breath of the Wild. I still kind of intermix Alice Madness Returns, which is kind of a slasher, first person, amazing game. But those are the only two that are really on my plate right now. I have a ton that I've either been working on for years or just replaying over and over again. But those are the good ones. How about you?
Yeah, you guys got me started on Stardew Valley, actually. And I made it to level 100 of the Skull Cavern yesterday, I'll have you know.
That
was very hard.
So my question is, who are you pursuing romantically in the game?
I decided to pursue Dr. Harvey.
Oh, yes.
Because the ones I really want to pursue, actually, I would have gone for like Clint or Gus or even Linus, the guy who lives in the tent. But they won't let you. They're not eligible. So yeah, I'm sad about that. I'm like, I want to pursue the people that people wouldn't normally pursue. Anyway, I'm friends with them. So yeah, well, that's fun. Thanks, you guys. So good to hear what everybody's doing right now. So let's have a sum up. Can we have like a one sentence, like, what video games, what are they to you? So like for me, it's my escape. It's my time when I just want to go do something mindless and not have to think about the world. I can think about the world that I create. So that's what I use it for. Crystal?
I like it. And I totally relate to that. I think that for me, video games are an amazing reminder of manifestation and how we can create our own reality. And they're also just such a beautiful way to escape. So I'm in.
Jeff?
They are my media of choice. I will put it that way.
Nice.
They're, people read books. I mean, I read books and movies and stuff too. But when I just need to relax or I've got some free time, video games are usually what I turn to, and I have a good time with them.
Excellent. Fei?
I think video games are definitely, for me, a point of connection with story and humanity and with people I love.
Nice. Love it. Alyssa?
Well, video games are just a beautiful, immersible story that you can experience on your own or share with others. That's it.
Nice. That's a great sum up. I'm glad I asked that question. Thanks, guys.
And so do you guys have anything that you want to say out there to anyone feeling alone or isolated, especially those in the gamer community? Any advice or any just, ideas for if somebody wants more connection in their life?
Don't be afraid to reach out in the community and find the people who you'll fit in with, because you just never know. For example, our guild is full of mostly older people, but we've got a couple 18-year-olds who just are these great kids who we play with, and you may be surprised who you connect with. So don't rule out anyone. Maybe it'll be an old lady like me, but and you never know.
I love it. Thank you. That's great.
I would say, connect with people who have the same interests as you, and they don't necessarily even have to be in a guild or that type of situation. But I've found through streaming, even just playing single player games, I've connected with people that I wouldn't have never otherwise met or known anything about, and I've made a lot of good friendships that way. And so it's not even necessarily like, if you're not into MMOs, there are other ways to use gaming as a connection tool. And also, don't believe the stereotypes that everybody's like a late teenage to early 20s, like toxic masculine guy swearing at you all the time. It's a lot more diverse than that. Yeah. And so find your tribe out there.
Yeah. And I just want to think, what I want to say to them is like, what you're experiencing is hard and normal. And I'm so glad that you have games in your life. And I just sort of like, if you were able to find games and find a way to escape them, and I'm sure it's made your life better. I know you'll have the tools to be able to do other things with it too.
Excellent. Thank you, Faye.
Yeah, if anyone, if there was the in chat was the, if anyone wants to share their emails or whatever, if anyone has any questions about Guild Wars, they can email me. I'm sure we can put that in the description somewhere. Yeah.
Sure.
That's a great
Well,
idea.
Go ahead and tell us your email though, Alyssa.
It's alyssapowers@gmail.com.
Okay.
Nice and easy.
Easy to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alyssa's great with Guild Wars. I played Guild Wars 2 for a while for you, and I have
I
two
know.
avatars up to like level 70, but level 80 is the highest. And I was like, I just don't want to quite get
You
to the
just
highest because
need
I
to
don't feel
come
that
run
yet.
with us. You just need to come run with us.
I do. I really do. Yeah.
We're really chill.
Thanks, Alyssa. Yeah, lots of fun. Faye, how could we get a hold of you if anybody wants to?
Come to my website. It'll link you to all the other places that I'm on YouTube and stuff, all of that, and you can contact me. It's my first name, last name, FeiWyatt.com.
Excellent. Thanks, Faye. Jeff, do you have a
Well,
preferred method?
Like I said, I'm trying to work out this kind of this virtual avatar VTuber thing, and so I'm eventually my goal is to start streaming some games with that. And once I get that all set up, check in the comments or description of this podcast, and I'll get you guys a link once that's up and going, and come and hang out and just have fun.
Yeah, I know you've done some streaming in the past, so that'll be cool to get that up again. So thanks, Jeff. Crystal?
So I can be reached.
Yeah, go ahead.
At crystaltherapy.cc at gmail.com, or crystaltherapy.cc is technically the website as well. And I'm on a lot of other sites, but yeah, like Faye, there's some links on there, and you can always reach out to me through Nurtured Nerds or email.
Cool.
How about you, Mary?
Yeah, and mine is just marycuddler.com, and my email is marycuddler@gmail.com. So very easy. And we'll have all of this stuff in the Nurtured Nerds contact sheet as well for the professional cuddlers. Will be listed there, definitely. So yeah, reach out, you guys. Come on, we're reaching out to you. We need you to close the loop if you want to join us. We're here for you. So, okay. How are you guys feeling after doing this interview? How's everyone doing?
I'm just feeling really grateful for like gaming. I don't know. I'm just feeling really, enthused about it all.
Well, and I just feel happy to know that it's a universal thing. You know, sometimes you do feel a little bit isolated, but there are millions of people all over the world who are sharing in your joy.
Yes.
Yeah. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Love it. Nice and simple. I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm feeling really amazing. I'm really amazed at the diversity, and really grateful for the cuddle community, and also for the Nurtured Nerds community, because it's really just empowered me further to find my tribe, as Jeff mentioned, and to keep working towards just connecting with unique, wonderful people, because there's so many of us out here.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm feeling grateful that you guys are all sharing what you love with us. You know, that's what nerds are. They love something and they share it. And I love getting together with nerds and talking about what we're nerding out about. Thanks, you guys. So we're going to talk a little bit more, Crystal and I, about some things, and but you guys can stay with us if you want. We're going to talk about maybe some nerdy thing, and we have a random cuddle of the episode that I chose that I'm going to share. You can stay and comment if you want, or if you need to go, then that's understood. It's all right. So thanks, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. This is joy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love talking. I think one of my biggest things is I have to make sure I rein myself in, because I tend to just like go. So I was like, make sure you let other people
Me
talk.
too. Sorry.
No,
it was great.
You're golden.
And it was fun to nerd out on games as the primary topic for what, that was good.
I love,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. I wanted to say, Alyssa, the Final Fantasy series is one of my favorites. And the number 7 is the one I cried at, which is the Flower Girl.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
That's a specific scene that they do so
Mhm.
beautifully. And it's a character that unfortunately doesn't make it. And it's just the way they do. I was,
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
but I still don't know what the term nerfing means exactly. I did look it up, but I feel like
I can't explain if anyone else doesn't want to, especially in a game that you play for a long time. That's a MMO like Guild Wars. I talk about they do balance patches, so they'll change the statistics or the levels of your character and like how long it takes to cast something or how powerful it is to cast something. So they'll change it. So nerfing is when they do something to your character that decreases its ability to like harm others basically, or to it makes it lessens its ability. So for example, way long in the past, I had this thing on my character which was an ice bow, which I loved. It was great. It was super powerful, and they nerfed it by making it didn't hurt people at all, and it was instead of hitting you with a rock, I'm hitting you with a Nerf dart.
And now it makes a lot more sense,
That's
and especially in that realm. So I was thinking of it more in the one-on-one realm, which again, I end up playing just like Mary. I end up playing less of the group community level games and more of the one like I'm by myself. So that makes a ton of sense and also seems very unfair and not cool.
Oh no, I mean it's all about they try to keep it fair and balanced, and sometimes after a while they'll be like, oh, so this class of character is a little overpowered, so we need to nerf it so it matches everybody else more. They just kind of sometimes do it just to influence the gameplay, just to see how it'll change things. So
that's like something like the programmers do, or is that so it's not like an enemy hits you with a spell and it nerfs you?
No. This is what the developers, they actually change the coding of the game.
Yeah. Okay.
It's reminding me of Westworld, the TV show. If anyone's seen it, the developers will just like change. Oh yeah, it's classic. But you've pretty much sold me, Alyssa, on joining your guild or something sometime.
You should come for sure.
Yeah, Alyssa's so you're just passionate about Guild Wars 2, and I love it. Alyssa and I have been friends for a long time, Crystal. So
that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. And the camaraderie, the vibe of like cheers I got from everybody. Like I don't know if you guys remember the show, the bar show Cheers, where like
for sure.
Where everybody knows your name and you can come back after years of not talking to people. Like I feel that energy from that community, which makes me really interested in it, something more than I've done in the past,
Yeah. So Crystal, do you have any kind of nerdy thing that happened to you this week that you want to share?
Let's think. Nerdy or scary this week. Let's see. Well, I was going to say, I think almost every day I have to like nerd out about something. I've been really excited to collect seeds this week. So I'm a landscaper, horticulturalist. I do a lot of different types of jobs, wear different types of hats. And I'm so grateful to say that I've been collecting seeds from wherever I go and trying to also collect saplings, like little trees, baby trees. And so I feel very nerdy saying that, but I've been stealing and collecting seeds everywhere.
I love it.
And it's been fun.
Yeah. I love gardening and doing plants as well. So that's so cool.
That's awesome. How about you? Any fun, nerdy, exciting thing going on?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I've been having a hard week. So. Oh, I know something cool. I don't know if it's nerdy, but my brother and I are starting a business where we're going to be selling these blankets. They're waterproof with an absorbent layer in them.
That's awesome.
To protect your bed from body fluids. And they're actually coming in this week. We ordered them in April and they're going to be starting to be delivered this week. So I'm totally excited.
I love that. I love the entrepreneurial attitude, as well as it sounds like, like very inventive, like very fun. How did you guys come up with that, or why did you decide to do that together?
Well, it was a product that I wanted, and we were looking at 4-hour work week. We're like, we need a different life. What would be the product that we could sell? And I'm like, well, what about this? There's not one on the market that fits what I want. I'm a consumer. So we developed it. We worked with a supplier in China and developed it to look like more like a regular blanket, so it doesn't look like an incontinence pad, or if you're having intimate time, you don't want to have a hospital pad on your bed.
I think that is wonderful.
Well, thank you.
I'm very much a fan of that. Make your life what you want it to be. Like, hey, how can we create something?
Exactly. So we're trying to level up with our leveling up idea.
I love it.
We want to make income to the level that we would like to be supported in. So.
I feel you, and I feel it's important to value yourself and your time. You want more time for what you want to do, and you want to value what time you do spend on a product or on an income or on a type of job. I'm very much in line with that right now.
Yeah. So I'm super excited that those are about to be delivered, and so I kind of worked myself hard to get the garage set up so we could store them there.
Well, I can only imagine, like the level of stress that might accompany that, but it does sound like you're on a great path.
Yeah. It's watersprite.blankets.com if anybody wants to look it up. It's really not like polished yet, but there is a website there, and you can get on the mailing list if you're interested.
Nice. I'm totally rocking that. I like supporting people I care about.
Thanks, Crystal. I appreciate that. Yeah, so that was a big thing happening in my life this week.
Beautiful.
I also have a cuddle of the episode that I wanted to share, unless you had one. I guess we could do both if you do.
So yeah, we could definitely both do one. You want to go first? I'll do after.
Sure. The one that I chose to share this week is like back to basics. My first level, well, actually in when I do events, the first thing I do is, may I talk with you? So before we're even touching, it's can I connect with you? Like, can I look in your eyes? Can we talk about something and get together? And then usually my next go-to is, would you like to hold hands while we talk? So my cuddle of the episode is holding hands. I think it's totally underrated. I think holding hands just can really connect you with a person. And if you haven't held hands with somebody in a long time, you should try it. Hold hands with your mom or your dad. In my family, we do that all the time. Somebody's always holding mom or dad's hand when we're having group of, family events. And if you're just walking with your friend, maybe hold hands, or it's just such an easy thing, but it means so much. There's even like a pinky hold in the Cuddle Sutra where it's just your pinkies like touching.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's really cute.
I 100% agree with that. I'm definitely a fan of holding hands, and I try to do that with my daughter a lot. And I think that in session, it's a beautiful way to start a session.
Yeah, that's always the way I like to start. And then you can really read a lot just through that body contact in your hands and see, if you're ready for more, or if you're not, if you're ready to pull back, or you can read through that contact.
I like starting with stargazing, where we're laying on the floor looking up. I have a very fun light that puts stars on the ceiling. And then the next question I ask is, would you like to hold hands while we, stargaze? And so it's a very fun intro to each other. But I love the eye gazing. I think that can be so challenging, but so beautiful and such a positive for any client,
Yep.
Very, very cool. The pose that I was going to talk about today is one that I only tried for like the first time recently with a client. It's called the alligator. And I want to say, I'm praying that I don't like describe this incorrectly, but it's, you literally kind of, this is a trust client, it's a trusted client, because you're going to basically use your legs like the alligator mouth and kind of like clamp down on their legs. Or you can clamp down on their tummy or their legs or however you're comfortable. And it's kind of a silly pose. I was practicing silly poses with a client. And, when I learned, all the different poses when I first started with certified cuddlers, I just remember thinking that one's crazy. Like and it took me a while to want to try that.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really fun one. And it's a really interesting one. I love the animal ones. I think that they can be goofy.
Well, and it's important to kind of be silly and goofy, I think, because that's what helps us get more comfortable and start laughing, and kind of breaks down those barriers of discomfort and feeling disconnected. So yeah, being silly definitely is a tool that helps a lot when you're connecting with somebody.
I totally agree.
Cool. Well, Crystal, I think we're getting about to the end. So would you care to read our promos and tell people how they can find us? Number 8.
Would totally love to do that. I do want to say, first off, I'm so grateful that I got to be here. And it's such a blessing to like see it from another angle, if that makes sense. Being a panelist or being a guest is very different from being a co-host or being, somebody who's leading the event. And I do want to say that you did an amazing job, Mary, leading the event. You're very good at being like, hey, who's next? Here we go. Like, keep it rolling. And I enjoy that. It takes a lot of, leadership skills, but also just that ability to do impromptu conversations and look at things. I know, and kind of go with the flow, look at direction, but also lead the team. So that's mad props as well.
Oh, thank you. I love doing this actually. And this one has been like some of my very favorite people on this one. So I was super excited to do this one.
This is an amazing group. We had a really wonderful group today. Very, very awesome. And to talk a little bit about promos, I know that, you can find us here at the Nurtured Nerds website. That's nurturednerds.com. We are so excited to have more people join the group. We're so happy to keep building this and it's a really amazing group of people. There is reddit.com. I think it's a /r /nurtured nerds. So that's another avenue that you can locate us at. There's also a facebook.com /nurtured nerds. We're also promoting CassandraBrown.org. She's been on our podcast before. So it's CassandraBrown.org /jerk-proof-your-relationships. And we're all doing a raid for that. That's been an amazing experience that I'm really, really grateful that we're kind of using that language and kind of connecting together and kind of learning together. So that's pretty fun. And then you can, let's see. Oh, it looks like there's a coming soon there.
Yeah, that's Alyssa, our support main, was not able to be with us today, but that's her website, the irlsupportmain.com. So she is our founder of Nurtured Nerds, and mad props to her, and glad she could take some time off and that Crystal could be with us to fill in today. So that's great.
Definitely.
Yeah.
She's amazing. And we're really grateful that she started this group again, and that she's given us fun opportunities to work together.
Yes. And Gita's telling us in the chat, we love you, Alyssa. And we do. We do love Alyssa.
Definitely.
Yep.
We also have Instagram, Discord, and Twitch coming soon. So that keep an eye out. It's going to happen. We're getting there.
We'll get there. Yeah. And if you want to help us get there, please do. Please come on and show us how to do these things. We need some help. I need some help.
Definitely.
That's why I'm kind of excited Jeff was on, because he's done a Twitch stream before. So I'm hoping we can connect with him more in the future.
Yeah, that would be awesome if we could all kind of learn together, have some little group sessions, like learning. I don't know, that'd be fun.
Exactly. So we also have a raffle. We did a raffle a couple days ago, and our winner is yet to be named actually, but we will be starting a new raffle. So when you join, it's free to join the community, but you'll be entered into a raffle, and you get a pretty good care box of all this stuff. A free 30-minute virtual session with a professional cuddler after you pass their intake screening. A free ebook, my ebook, Art of Authenticity, and also Sam Varneren's ebook, or I'm not sure if that's an ebook or a real book, but it's Happy While Hermiting. That's a really fun book too. And free video game gift card, and you can submit a question to our hosts on the podcast so that we'll ask your question. And you can also get a discount on our raid with Cassandra Brown, Jerk Proof Your Relationship. She will work with you on the price, because she just wants to get everyone to have access to her content, which is amazing. If you want to learn how to interact with people and do deep listening and understand, what jerks you off your feet, and figure out how to get, mitigate that, that's what her class is about. And the deadline for the next raffle is September 29th. So come and join us.
Definitely. Please do.
Yeah. And we've also got Nerd Break every week, where we just get together and hang out and play games and stuff, right?
Those are super fun, and I very much enjoy those.
Yeah, so good.
I haven't been to one in a while. I need to get back in there.
Yeah, so many ways to connect.
Definitely.
So many ways. I love it. All right, Crystal. Are we feeling nurtured?
I think I'm feeling amazingly nurtured, and I'm super grateful that we got to be here today together.
Do we have anyone else hanging out that wants to say if they're nurtured or not? I am feeling nurtured, Crystal, so thank you. Let's arms wide and give yourself a hug. Yep. Pull it in. Hug yourself.
Please.
Yes. And remember to
Self-love.
give yourself all the love and energy you give to other people when you hug them. So, because you deserve it. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. Thank you to all our panelists. And we will see you at the next one.
Definitely. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye. Yeah.